So how you are? How are you doing, all of you? Good.
Good, thank you.
Welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Doing good.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming up now.
Coming up. Okay. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
You can see now.
I can see your screen. I don't know about others.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Sure. All right. So let's start. Mm, let me open the Blackboard right here. 523. Okay. Today is 525. So you can see the black screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start. So so last time I stopped explaining the field, I believe, day before yesterday. Before that, I explained about the Java statement. So we have done with Java statement, and now we are explaining field class members, which are fields, method, and inner class, right? Um, so let's start. And, let me complete this note here. So for while the definition of while should be execute till the given condition is true. True. And for the do while works like while, but it's little different. Like the first iteration will be executed without checking the condition, so it will be execute until the I can write the same given condition is true, right? And break of a loop and continue it escape. I'll give example of continue at some point. Iteration and resume the next, and return is the termination, terminate execution of method by returning value. Okay, so this is the complete note of Java statement. These are called branching. Right. So now let's move to field. So last class I was in last session I was explaining about the field declaration, how we can declare a field. So basically is someone texting on the group chat. Okay, asking for the class link is the same link, right? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So someone is asking for what? Can someone put the link? Okay. So it's the same link, right? Let me copy from here and paste. Okay. All right. So now about the field. So I believe everyone remembered the field. Field is like the global variable that I was mentioning. So how we can declare a field is starting with a modifier. What is modifier? Modifier is either public or package private, which is default. That means nothing, and or private or protected, right? These are called the modifier. So we will start with modifier, and then we have to mention the type of that variable and the variable name, which is called the identifier, right? For example, public, string, name, that's it, right? So this is called field declaration. This is a field, right? And what is the field? Field is a member of a class. What is a class? So how to declare a class is public class and the class name, right? So this is a class and this is a class body, right? Inside of this body, what can be included? Number one is field, number two is method, and number three is inner class. So in last session, I have discussed about the field. So today we are going to discuss about method, right? So let's start with method. Before that, let me give you some note. So this is the field declaration, right? So how we can declare a method? So let me start it from here. So method declaration. Here we have to follow a total 6 things, 5, 6, and number one is modifier, which is, as we know, exactly this. Copy it from here and paste it. And then number two is the return type, right? So the return types is what? The return types is, it can be either primitive or the exactly like this actually, and it can be also primitive, reference, or void, right? So methods can also return the void type. And number three, I'm going to details on this, but let me complete the note first. So, and number three is identifier, right? So identifier is the method name, right? And let me keep some other note here. I will explain this later. It's a part of method signature, right? And number four is the parameter list, the parameter list, right? And what is the parameter list? A comma delimited list of input parameter received by their data. Okay. And number five. Number five is an exception list. A list of exception. A list of exception if it may throw. And number six, the last one. The last one is the method body. The implementation of method, right? So this following these six, we can declare a method, right? So let's start. Then I'll open the IDE and we'll give the live example there. But first, try to understand what is a method. So I prefer calling function instead of method, even though in Java we call we call it method. In C or C++, those languages, we call it as function. So what is a function? Basically, a function is a procedure that can do some calculation based on some parameters. right? And that has the ability to return some value. So let's go deep into it. What is a function, right? So in school we did some math, right? Like f, like right here. So we did some math, like if f equal x, function x equal, let's say, x plus 1, right? So, and the question was like, if x equal, if x equal 3, uh, what is the result of the below function, right? So we saw some kind of we did some kind of math in school like this, right? So who can answer it? If x equal 3, what is the result of the below function?
It's 4.
It's 4, right? So here is 4. So x is 3, and I'm saying the function is and function of x is equal x plus 3, right? So what's going on here actually? So this is a function. In Java we call it identifier. Here it can be any name, right? I can write here function abc or my method. It can be any name, right? So this is a function right here. This is a parameter. What is parameter? Right here, right? X. This is the method body, the method bodies, right? So actually we are going to do the same thing whatever we did in school, but now we will deal in now we will do it in Java using the Java programming language, and before we did that in pen and paper. That's all. So what is a function? A function can take some input, and based on the input it can provide, it can do some calculation and give some output, right? So what a function can have? A function have input and then output and process, right? So we have to understand what a function is. I mean, we have to be very clear about this. What is input, what is output, and what is process, right? So let's say if I go to Google and if I write calculator, if I see here, so this is a, I mean, let's say this is a function right here. What is the name of this function? The name of this function is calculator, right? And let's say if I write 1 plus 2, so this 1 and 2 can be considered as input, right? Input right here, the first one. And if I hit the equal button, it says 3, so 3 can be considered as output, right? And what is the process? The process is the implementation, like 1 plus 2. So the way the result came in, right? So it did some process in the back end. So that is called process, right? So the process, where the process will go, the process will go in the method bodies, right? So now we are clear about what a function is. A function will have input, a function will have output, and it will have process, right? And the input. So in the body, whatever variable you are seeing, that value will come from through the parameter, right? Through the input. So now if you understand that concept, if I now tell function x equal let's say 2x plus 3y plus 5. Can someone tell me what is wrong in this function?
There's one more new parameter of y.
right. Okay.
Which is not
That means
declared.
what? I mean, what is wrong here? Okay, yeah. I mean, you are
We
correct.
see the value
Anyone
of
else?
y. We don't have the value of y. We don't know what y is. We have,
Exactly. So this is an invalid function. This is not true. This cannot be calculated, right? Because this y, we don't know what y means, and we are not also getting the value of y from through the parameter. That means this is an invalid function, right? So we have to either take off y from here. Now it makes sense, or we can tell function xy, right? So what does that mean? So whatever whatever variable we have inside of the process, that variable we have to receive the value of those variables through the parameter or argument. What is what is inside of this parenthesis? It can be called either parameter or it can be called as argument, right? Those arguments I will use on inside of my method implementation. So now, can someone tell me what is wrong about this function, or is there anything wrong, or everything is fine? Why? Is there anything wrong here, or everything is fine?
we don't have
Is
z
this
on
a
that.
valid? Is this a valid
Uh,
method or invalid method?
Function of z equals is invalid.
Okay, but is this function valid or invalid?
It's
No.
valid. It's valid.
It's valid. Okay, you are right. Can you tell me why?
Well, because we already the parameter of z is there, but we didn't require it. We haven't like called it, so it's fine. We have x and y, and we already define x and y part of the parameter, so we can get a result.
Excellent. Yes. Who? Who was talking?
This is Hilal.
Okay. Could you please write your name there? It says waiting for name, so I can't see your name. All
Oh,
right.
because I
So
just logged in from the link that you sent me. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, you are right. Even though we did not use, we have one extra parameter. We are not using that inside of our function, but that is fine. It may slow down our system or the function, but still this is valid. We have one extra parameter. We did not use that inside of our um, implementation, but this will be invalid if we use a variable and we don't have the parameter for that. Okay, so now we have understanding of what is a function. A function can have input. It can have a function will have input, will have output, and process. Okay, now this concept is from our basic understanding. Now I'm going to talk about the function in Java. The function in Java is the concept is exactly same, but instead of writing in pen and paper, now we will write it on in Java using Java programming language and with some other new features, right? So what those features are. So now let's analyze. So it says modifier method return type identify. Okay. Before that, let me actually give you some more hints about Java function. So Java function can have input and it can have output, right? So there are some methods, there are some functions that can have input, right, and will have output. Okay. And there will be some function that will have input but no output. Then there will be you will see some function that will have no input but output, right? And there will be some function that will have no input and no output. Am I missing anything, or I covered everything? Covered everything, right? Yes, 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 no, no, yes, no, no, right? So now, okay, I'm coming to this point, and we understood this, and now let's discuss here. So modifier, right? So what is modifier? As I mentioned, when we learned field, right? It can be public, static, public, private, protected, or default, right? And what are they? I have not discussed yet. So blindly type public for now. So public is the starting for the method declaration or a modifier, and then the return type, right? What are the return type? It can be either primitive, either reference, or void, right? So we know about primitive type. So let's write some primitive type, int, and then it says identifier, right? So what is identifier? Identifier is the method name, right? So let's call it my method, right? And it says after that it says parameter list. So parameter list will be inside, can be written by the parenthesis. Writing two parentheses. So my method followed by the set of parentheses. Inside of this parenthesis, all the parameters will go, right? And then it says exception list. So this is optional. I have option not to declare the exception at the time of a method declaration. So let's skip it for now. And the method bodies, that is compulsory. So this is my method body. So I'm done with writing a method. It's a method declaration, right? I just have declared a method using this direction right here, right? So I'm done. And yes, I have not included any parameter. So it's also optional. It can have some parameters, int I, j, int k, or it can have no parameters at all. So this is also optional. So this is a method declaration, right? So now coming to this point, it can have input, output, and the combination of that, right? So what is that concept? So what is input? Input is whatever will come inside of the parameter can be referred as input. And what is output? Output is this return type, right? So this example right here, right? Function of x equal x plus 1, right? So what is f here? F is my method, right? What is x here? X is, I can have a parameter here, int x, right? And then what is x plus 1? X plus 1 is the part of the method body. Instead of this body, I will write x plus 1, right? And this will return a value, right? So how can we return that? We can simply tell return this. So now this will be returned as a int type. So this actually has not, this is exactly same as this. We did that using pen and paper. Now we are writing that in Java programming language, but exactly same concept, right? So now what is input and what is output? Input is int x. That means is coming from external source. Who will provide that? At the runtime, maybe user is providing that input, maybe is coming from another function, maybe is coming from some other source. It can be it's not part of the your method, your function. It's external. As you can see here, I'm seeing here, if x equals 3, right? So this is part of another source, right? But it's not part of this function right here. So if x is 3, that's what I'm saying here. So int x, right? Someone else will give a value for this x. It can be 3, it can be 5, or it can be anything else, right? So this will receive. So using the parameter, we can make our function usable, right? If I write here 1 plus 1, and if I do not have any parameter, then it has no value, right? This function has no, you cannot reuse that. But if it can take input, your function will be reusable. For example, in this function right here. Yes, any question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you a question. Can you go back to your notes?
Yes.
When we have the method name and the parenthesis is empty, and then sometime you declare like int x. So when it's empty, we're not returning anything, and once you declare int is x, you're returning a value. Is that how it is?
No, this is separate concept from here, right? So as I mentioned, this is input and this is output, right?
Yes.
So in this case, now I do not have any input, but I still have a return type, right?
Yes. So does that mean like if the parenthesis is empty, you do all the calculation within this method and then you return a value. But if you have like int x, you receive the input from somewhere else.
Exactly.
Oh.
I'll receive the value from someone. So now, if you understand this, can you tell me this method right here in which category from here? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I would say it's 3. No input, but output. Yeah, no, yes.
No input, but excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, and can someone else tell me what type of method is this from this 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can someone else?
1.
1. Excellent. All right. So can someone else tell me what input is this?
No, yes.
It should not return anything since it's a void.
Okay. So is it 1, 2, 3, or 4?
4.
4. No input.
It is.
So no. So 4
No, it is.
says no input, right? But I have some input here.
It is 2.
Right? 2. So 2 is what? Input is yes. Okay, yes. And output is no. All right, no. Excellent. Okay, so how about, and which one I'm missing? No. Okay, I'm missing one, right? So if I have void here, how about void and this? Which one is that? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Can someone else?
Should be 4.
Excellent, yes. So this is 4 because now here I have no input, no output, right? This has some static, it can return or print something, that's all. All right. So now we have understanding how method works and how it behaves and what it can take, what parameters are, what arguments are, what it can return, right? Return is the returning value, right? Oh, I mean, whatever it will return. So based on the input, it will do some calculation and it will return, it will be able to return that value, right? And what I was mentioning, this 1, 2, 3, I can give input, right? Multiply 5 equal. So this function is reusable. Why? Because it has parameters. What are they? How many parameters it has? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. It has 35 parameters, this function, right? And it can take those input from user. Who is user? In this case, I'm the user right now. I can provide the input, and based on those input, it is giving me the output. So this is a function. So we'll create similar function in Java, right? Let's say I want to create, let's say, one small calculator. Let's say it can take two numbers and it can give the result. I mean, just forget about this big function. Just one small function. It can take two numbers from user and it gives the addition of that numbers to the user again. So who can tell me? I mean, who can create that function for me? Anyone? Anyone? What is the requirement? Take two numbers from users and return their addition. Anyone?
We use the scanner to enter values.
Oh, no, don't worry about the scanner. We are just creating a method. Let's say this is a method right here, right? So, like, create a function to take two numbers from users and return their addition. So this is the question, right? So yes. So anyone? So we have the instruction here, right here.
Yeah, call the modify first.
Yeah.
Public.
Okay, public, excellent.
And
Okay.
because we need to return time, right?
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Oh, why you are writing int? Because this question is in the question it says it will return one value, and that value, what is the type of that value? The type of that value is int, right? It can be int, byte, double, but for simplicity, we are writing int. All right, and then what?
And then the name or whatever.
Okay. So what name you wanna give? So it can do sum, right? So let's give it sum. Or just add.
Add, and then the parameter, the parentheses.
Okay, exactly. So parameter list. So do I have parameter in this question, in this requirement or not?
We don't have to.
We don't have to?
The numbers should be the parameters.
Exactly. It says take two numbers, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
two parameters.
So these two numbers will be my input, right? Input. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So how can I write those? What should I do here now?
X
I mean,
and
someone
Y.
else can proceed. X and Y, okay, here, right? Excellent.
Yep.
X and Y, excellent. But in Java, we cannot directly write X, Y, right? We have to mention their type all the time. We cannot
Integer
directly
X. Yep. Integer
right,
Y.
right, excellent. Okay, excellent. Int X and int Y. And in Java, how can we comma, right? Yeah, here in the note it says a comma delimited list of input parameter preceded by their data type, right? Okay, so comma int Y, excellent. So we are so far so good. What else? So we came up to this
body
point, and okay, body. We can skip exception and method body. So how we can write the method body? Just starting parenthesis and closing parenthesis, and we are done. But still, we are missing something. That is
Yeah, the values for X and Y.
Yeah, the implementation. We are missing the implementation or the method, the actual calculation of the method body. So that can go inside of this method body, right? So what is that calculation? Who can tell?
X plus Y.
Return X plus Y.
Excellent. X plus Y. And what is the way to return it? I have to mention the keyword return. Whenever I write the keyword return, so whatever it will return, that type has to match with this type. So in this case, this is int variable. This is also int variable. If I add them, that will also return a int type. So also I'm saying is int. If I write here now, let's say string, it will give me error because it will say that you are trying to return a int variable, but your method declaration is saying it should be string. So it will be mismatch. So they has to be same. So is int. And in Java, what is the how we can end of a statement using the semicolon, right? So this is a complete function right now. Now we can claim that this is a complete function. So what this function can do, this can take two numbers from user and it can return their addition, right? So this is a big function right here, but we have written a small function, right? Who can you try? Like I wanna add exactly same, but instead of addition, I wanna do, let's say, multiplication. How can I multiply? So how can I do that? What change do I need to make? Two numbers from user and return their let's say right. So what change do I need to make here?
Return X star Y.
Multiplication.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the declaration we did for the add, there's gonna be multiplication.
Yeah. So even though this is not required, but we should change it, right? This is
Right.
user defined. So we should write multiply. And instead of the plus sign, what sign should I use?
Star.
Multiplication.
Yeah.
A static sign. Yeah, a static sign. All right. Now let's say I want to do the same for division. Let's say. Right. So what I have to do? I know that this should be this,
G. And the sign going to be
and this should be what?
slash.
Which slash? There are two slash in keyboard. Right? Which one?
The backslash.
Yeah, back.
No, not the back. No, not the back one. Forward
The
one, right?
slash. Yeah, the slash.
Yeah,
Okay.
this.
Are you guys confused with this and this or not?
No.
If you confused, let me give you some techniques. So very quickly. So if this is a pipe, right, and this is one slash and this is another slash, right? So which slash is going forward and which slash going backward? See, this is a pipe, right? This pipe right here. Let me show you. This pipe right here is falling down here, right? This one, this fall down, right? So this is forward, and this slash is falling down, right? I mean, the backward is falling down backward, right? So now you can tell it backslash. Easy or no? You understood or not?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. No problem. I mean, it's important to remember, right? So okay, let me show you here.
Hey, brother.
So if this is my pipe, right, and this is the base, right? So from here, if it goes front, like the forward, then it will be the push slash, the forward slash. And from the base, if it go to the left side, that means it's going back, right? So this is backward. This is backward. I mean backslash, and this is what's called, I forgot, forward slash. All right. Any questions? Erase. All right. So let's go. Now we understood, okay, how to create functions. So this is, so same way we want to create a function for
Brother, I
subtract.
have a question.
Sure.
Hello? Isn't it
Yes,
always
please.
better for division to declare as double, because if you divide like odd numbers, you'll get a decimal?
Is it better to what?
For division, do we have to declare as like to return like double? Because you know when you divide the numbers, you get decimal. Like you
Yeah,
divide
so let's say if I divide a number, I get decimal, but let's say I don't care about the decimal number, right? So in
yeah.
that case, this is a valid case, right? For example, as an example, let's say IRS never care about cent. You do your tax return every year, right? But did you ever see any cent value in IRS paper? Never, right? So they don't care about the cent value. So in the, or those kind of situation, if you don't wanna see the decimal value, you will always use the int. You will return the int type, right? So now if this is 10, if x equal 10 and y equal 3, right? So which will be 10 divided by 3. So what will be the result? What it will return?
3.
Anyone? 3. Right. So this will return 3. So now based on, yeah, so now if you can tell, no, I actually need the decimal value, right? Then you can ask, okay, so how many decimal value do you need? Do you need 2 decimal value, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So there can have many other requirements. But if you are supposed to have only the raw value, the whole number, then you can simply say int. That's how you can avoid all this portion after the decimal. All right. So we have understood this, and now we have one left. If I want to do the subtract with the same, what do I need to change here? I know that if, let's say, if this is subtract, and I know that I have to make this name change optionally, right? And what other changes I have to make? Line number 127, right?
Sign, yeah.
Okay. X divided by y. So if the x equal 5 and y equal 10, what will be my result?
-5.
Exactly, -5. Excellent. All right. And how can I do modulo?
The percentage.
Same concept, right? And MOD, instead of minus, I will use the percentage sign. That's all, right? So these 5 functions. So now if I tell you to create this 5 function in your IDE, will you be able to create this or not?
Yeah, we just did.
Yes or no?
Yes, we just did it on the port now, right? We just transferred it there.
Oh, you are it. Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, so I am going to next topic, but before that, let me give you something interesting here. So after this session, you can try this by your own. So using a scanner class, take a number, and that number will be 1 to 5 from user, right? And then ask 2 numbers from users, right? So this is an application. What this application will do, I can hear some noise. If you can please mute yourself, if you are not talking. If you're not talking, please mute yourself. All right. So just create one small program or application. That application, using the scanner class, it will take one number from user. It can be 1, it can be 2, 3, or 4. the message can be like this. Let's say, okay, let me give you an example here. So how the console will look like. So in the console, it will tell, let's say, hello. It's a message, right? And then please enter a number. And in the parentheses, you can give some hints to the user. 1 for, let's say, add. 2 for sub. 3 for multiply. 4 for division. And 5 for modulo. Right? So, and then user, let's say user will enter, let's say 1. Now your program will ask enter first number, and then user will enter. Who is user and who is programmer? You are the programmer. And who is user? After executing the program, whenever the person who will enter this value is called the user or the client or the customer, right? In this case, if you do, you can play the role of both user and programmer, but you have to understand the concept of user and programmer. All right, so enter first number and user will provide, let's say, 10. And your program will tell, please always be polite with you, the user. So use please instead of writing enter. Please. Okay. So please enter first number. Please enter second number. And let's say user will write 20. Then your program will tell the addition of what was the number? 10 and 20, right? Addition of 10 and 20 is 30, and then period. And then your program will tell thank you for using my application. Please come back again, or something, some sort of funny message, right? So this is one application. If you can create this application, so for this application, what do you need? You need to understand field. You need to understand method. You need to understand if statement. You need to understand for loop, right? And so on. So if you can actually do it, it will be great. And if you can also, after, yes, please. Someone
Can you
was
paste
talking,
it
right?
in the chat? Can you paste it in the chat, or are you gonna post the note right after the?
Yeah, I can post it after that, or I can also
Yeah.
get it here. QE, right? All right, you got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, or you also, after coming this position, thank you for using my application. If using the for loop, if you can go back to in this position again, that will be great. So the program will never end, right? Or please come back again, and then you can ask enter 1 for a new session, or 2 for exit. So if user press 2, the program will terminate. But if user press 1, the program will go back to this position again. Hello, please enter your number. The way the ATM machine works, right? So after taking money, so you insert your card inside of the Bank of America ATM machine. You take money, and when you are done, it says thank you, and the ATM machine do not shut down, right? It waits for the next customer, right? Same thing here, same concept. So yes, so try to do this, and yeah, and for this you have to understand everything that I have explained in the previous session, right? Okay, So now let's move to the next session. I mean, next topic. For the next, okay, so I was explaining a method here. Okay, now the next topic is we will do this physically in IDE, right? The method. So now open IDE. Okay. Seems like I have some error here. What's going on? Uh, Session 6. Okay, so let's create a class, session 6, and the string chem.out.print line. Okay, something is going wrong. That means cannot find the Java. All right, you know what? I don't want to spend time fixing this. So, okay, actually, let me try Eclipse. Hmm. Okay, it's my Eclipse is working. Let's work here. I want to make this little bigger. Does anyone know how to make it bigger? So, uh, I mean, can you see this, or this is too small?
It's fine. Or you
It's
can
fine?
go to window. I'm not sure. Will it be under window or no?
Let me find here. Preference, general appearance. Okay. So preference, general appearance, and editor, and text editor. My God, seriously. Anyway, colors in front, expand basic folder. Okay. How come they made it too complicated? Don't understand. Colors in front, basic. Okay, then what? Ah, you know what? Forget it. All right.
Thing about text. Can you go low?
We can see.
What's that? Oh, you can
We
see.
can
Okay.
see it.
All right.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
bad. We can see.
Okay. All right. So, so this is a method itself, right? So how we can understand that this is a method? Previously, I was mentioning. Let's close interview. So previously, I was explaining by just looking by the word how we can understand that it's a package or it's a class or it's a constant or so on, right? In somewhere I have given example. It should be somewhere here, right? So naming convention. So this is a package. This is a class because it is started with a capital M, right? In the same way, I mentioned that whenever you see after a word a set of parentheses, that means that's a method. right? So now we know just by looking this word right here, we know that this is a method. Now, if I ask you, let's say, um, Java hello world, if I ask you, let me open this code, okay? So, can you see any method here in this code? Who can tell?
The print line.
No, the main.
Exactly, because after print line, I can see a set of parentheses. That means what? Print line is a method, and someone else mentioned that main. Yes, main is also a method because after this identifier, I can see that a set of parentheses, starting and closing. Is there any other method in this code?
That's it.
Okay, yes, that's it, right? So now we, in one loop, we know that main is a method, print line is a method as well. Is there any class in this code? How we understand the class? The first letter will be capital here. If the first letter is capital, that means it's a class. So can we see any class here?
Yeah. Hello world.
Hello world.
Exactly, because H is capital. Is there any other class in this code?
No.
System.
Exactly, system, because S is capital. So system is a class. Is there any other class in this code?
No.
I can see string here.
Oh, okay.
S
That's
is
true.
capital. So string is also a class, right? Because it's started with a capital letter. So if we see a word,
The class, we don't have to proceed by the word class. That's specified as a class.
yeah, class will start with a capital letter, right? So anytime you see a word that is started with a capital letter, that means it's a class, right?
But
And we know that, yes.
It doesn't necessarily to
What's
be
that?
preceded by the word class, like so public class, hello world. I mean, the word class doesn't have to be mentioned specifically.
So this is Java built-in class, right? So this class is already created. This is a Java built-in class, right?
Yes.
And we came to know that what a class can have. I mean, today I just mentioned, right? A class can have what? Class members, right? Those are field, method, and inner class, right? So string is a class of which package? Who knows it? Anyone? I believe it's java.lang, right? So if we go to Java API, and we look for the package java.lang package, lang means language, and string should be part of this. String class should be part of this package. Yes, right here is string, right? So these are all classes, right? Classes. So if we look for a string is here. So string has what it can have three members, right? What are they? One is called field. It has only one field right here. It has method. How many methods is string have? These all are the methods, right? These all. I think maybe 25, 30. So yes, so string is a class. Whenever you see a word started with a capital S, that means it's a class. And there are more than 4,000 classes in Java built in, right? And we can create our own. In this case, let's say here, right? We have created a class called session 6, and here we have created in this example, we are creating one class called hello world, right? So now we know so many things here, right? We know how to define a class, we know how to define a method, right? We know what is void. Void is what? Who can tell?
You don't return a number.
Value.
No, void is a return type, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there is no return. I mean, it doesn't have to have a return.
Yeah, I just have explained here, right, in my note. So the return type, it can be primitive type, it can be reference type, or it can be void. So void is also a return type. So if someone asks you what void return, you will say
Void.
void return nothing, right? But void always returns something but nothing. I mean, it's nothing, but it's still a thing, right? So it's returning something which is nothing. So you can think of that way. So there can have three kinds of return type. One is primitive, one is reference, and one is void. So we know what is void and we know what is identifier. Can someone give me an example of identifier here? In this code, identifier is user defined name that you as a programmer gave the name of those identifier, right? So who can tell me where is the identifier here?
Main, is that a
Main. Okay. Yeah, you can tell main, but in this case, then the name has to be main because this is a main method. But yes,
I mean,
you are correct. Yeah. So method name can be considered as identifier. What else?
print line?
Nope. Print line is a method. It's not identifier
Oh,
because
okay.
yeah.
Another nothing.
So I can see here a class name, right? So this
Yeah.
class name can be considered as identifier. This method name can be considered as identifier.
Okay.
This variable name can be considered as identifier, right? So what is identifier? Identifier is the name can vary. It doesn't have to be argument. You can write something else. You can write XYZ, right? Still it will work. If you write XYZ here, still it will work. If you write XYZ here, still it will work, right? But if you write XYZ, will it work? No,
Mm.
right? So identifier is what? Identifier is as a programmer, you gave some name. Those are called identifiers, right? So we know identifier and we know this is the part of a string. Whatever you write inside of a quotation mark will be considered as part of a string. And this is a return type and this is a class. We have not gone through the public yet. So most of them, keyword and functionalities and term we already familiar with. We'll go more, but before that, let me explain something. I was explaining method somewhere. So in a method, so whenever you declare a method, right? So let me go back to my Eclipse. So this is a class, right? And as I mentioned, class can have method, inner class, and what else? Who can tell? Anyone? Method, inner class. See, I mentioned here so many times. And a class will have three members. Those are field, method, and inner class, right? So another one is field. So field. So now I can make it bigger using my finger. Okay. 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 So this field, we understand field, method, and inner class. So now try to understand one concept. So these three things can be shuffled. What does that mean? Shuffled means, let's say I want to create a method here, public uh, void method one, right? So this is one of my methods, and I'm creating, let's say, 5 methods, right? And give them name 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just have created 5 methods, right? So let me create 5 fields. So public, so int, field 1. This, just take off this one now. We don't need that. And here, let me check for the inner class. How do you write inner class? Okay, it says public inner demo. All right. So this is the inner class. How can you write inner class? Let's say no one give any straightforward answer. Okay, let me do it in my way. So let's say, what's that?
Use the private because we don't want it to be public. Like the main class, I mean, if that's public, the inner class is private.
Okay, if that is not a, you said if that is not, okay, inner class implements the data structure. That is not, 1 second. Okay, let me do it in my way. Let's say class, let's say class class 1, right? And this is a class. Let me create 5 more class and give them name 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we are basically including this. What is field? Field is this, right? And what is method? Method is this. And what is inner class? Inner class is this, right? And give them different name, right? So what we have created? We have created 5 fields, 5 methods, and 5 inner class, right? So what I was trying to explain is this can be shuffled, right? What does that mean? Shuffled means what? It's okay if I take it off from here and write it here. It doesn't matter, right? It's okay if I take these 2 from here and write it here. It doesn't matter, right? So this can be shuffled. It will not affect your program at all, right? You got the concept? Let's say this field 1 equal 1, right? So now you can use this field 1, let's say inside of this method, right? I can tell, let's say field 1, I mean, let's say int x equal field 1, right? So this field 1 is recognized because I have declared that here, right? If I take out this line, I'm getting error here, right? So the shuffle means if I take off this line from here and if I include this line in line number 15, will this program work or will not? I mean, that will not work. Who can answer it? I want to delete this line from here and I want to include that here. Will this work or not? Anyone?
So, can you make the question
Yes,
clear
I'm
more?
sorry. Oh, the
Yeah,
question is not clear.
Yeah, you just move it down
was,
the same thing, or you delete it.
I just want to move it down. I just want to take it out from here and put it back here.
Yeah, it should work.
It should work because of because why?
Still in the same class. You can put it anywhere. That doesn't have to be in order. You can shuffle it. You just mentioned it.
Exactly. Where, I mean, in which place it has to be in order?
Just between those curly parentheses inside the class. Inside the.
Between where?
Inside the class. I mean, you can put them in any order.
Inside the body.
Yeah.
Inside the
Yeah,
body.
so inside, yeah, so I understood that. So you said if I take it out from here and put it back here, it will not affect and my program will work. And your answer is correct. It is working, right? So now I just asked one more question, that is, in which place it has to be in order. The line has to be, we have to maintain the line. Here we are not maintaining the line, right? It is still working, right? So is there any place in Java where we have to maintain the line? Like if I want to use field 1 before I declare it, it will not, I mean, I cannot use that. Okay, so let me show it. So here, let's say, this is a method, right? So in this method, I have declared so far int x equal field 1, right? Now, if I tell system.out.println, if I tell x, this is working fine, right? X is working fine. So now, if I move line number 17 to line number 14, will it work or will it not? I mean, that will not work. Yes or no? I want to move line number 17. I want to move it from 17 to line number 14. Let's say I'm deleting this line and I want to put it back on line 14. If I take out the comment, will it work or not work?
Will not.
Anyone can answer?
No.
Not work, exactly. It's not working. That means, but before we took the field 1, or I mean, we moved to the at the end, but still it was working, right? That means I can shuffle field, method, and inner class. It will not make any effect. But inside of a scope, instead of a body, I mean the method body, it will affect. You have to maintain the line. You cannot use a variable before before its declaration. That is the concept, right? So here I'm using x before I declare it. I don't see before line 14, from line 1 to line 13, I don't see x, right? That's why it says, what is the error? X cannot be resolved to a variable, right? So, but if I declare it before I use it, then I will not have any error. Okay, so this concept is also clear. So in the same thing, method and inner class are also the same concept. So this method, inner class, and field can be shuffled in a class, inside of a class body, anywhere, right? Okay, and this class, this is also a class, right? This can also have the, what it can have, it can also have the fields and method and inner class, right? Because this is a class too, right? This is also a class. It can also carry this members, right? Okay, so we have understood the class members very clearly. You don't have to spend time for inner class deeply, because we don't need inner class that much. I mean, not at all. Maybe you can think of like that. We need only field and method. So you have to have clear understanding of field and method, right? So just to recap again, what we have learned today, we have learned field and method, right? So a field starts with a modify. I mean, what's called the modifier, then the type, then the identifier. And if you can see, you will see something same, because it also started with identifier. I mean the modifier, but after modifier, it has a return type. Right, so we will do some practice. Before that, I'm doing some explaining one more time as a recap, and this can be primitive type as well as the reference type. What is reference type? I have not discussed yet. That I'm coming to next week, maybe, inshallah. But whenever I say primitive type, that means it can be int, byte, short, long, float, double, boolean, and char. 8, right? So these 8 can be considered as the primitive type that can go here. In this case, it can go also here, right? And here, one more thing I would just want to mention that field, even though you do not initialize a field, it will have its own default value, right? So let's say if I declare int x, okay, let me comment it out. Let's comment out these 2 lines. Can anyone answer that? Is there anything wrong in this code, or everything is fine in these 2 lines, line number 13 and line number 14? Anything wrong in line 13 and 14?
No, it's
Yes,
okay.
no, maybe it's okay. I don't
Yes.
think so, because if you see now, can you see error here under X?
Yes.
There's error. Yes. So can you assume what is the reason?
It's a void method.
Oh, what is that? I'm sorry, again.
Your method is void, so it's not returning anything, or?
No, I mean
It doesn't have a
these 2 lines.
value.
Oh,
Don't look at the method. Just
it doesn't
consider
have
on
the
these 2
quotes
lines.
around it?
There's no value for X.
Oh, actually, yeah.
So right. So why I'm telling this, because field. So what is the difference between X and field 2? Who can answer it? Anyone? Can anyone answer what is the difference between field 1 and X?
Field 1 has a value, but X doesn't have a value.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. I mean, now.
So you initialize
answer
it,
now.
and you
Okay, answer now. What is the difference between field 1 and X? So, as I mentioned, right? So, it's simple. Field 1 is global variable. X is not a global variable. In other words, this is a field, and this is a local variable. Who did not understand? See, this X is declared inside of a method, inside of a method scope, right? And this field is declared inside of the class, but outside of any method, right? Is it confusing? Or am I making you confused? Or, I mean, who did not get the point?
So
I
the
think
field
you
you
get the
can
point, brother.
the field you can
I'm
use it
sorry.
anywhere, right?
Right. So
Can you hear me?
field is global, right? So
Yeah.
this field 1 can be used in any method, right? Let's say, okay, let's put 1 here, so there is no error now here. So field 1, can I print field 1 inside of method 2? Yes or no?
Yes.
Exactly. So let's try field 1, right? Field 1, and it says no. I mean, no problem, right? And can I try method 3? 3, will it work or not work?
What, field 1 or
Yes,
what?
no.
Which one?
Yeah, field 1. Field 1.
Yes.
Okay, it's working. So can I copy this line and paste it here? Will it work or not work? Line number
Y-
15. I'm trying to copy line number 15 and paste it
No,
on
no.
line number 20. No,
No.
because what is the reason? What is the reason that it is not working?
Because X is local to method 1. Local
Exactly. So
variable to
X
method
was
1.
local, right? X is local. So what is the scope of X? The scope of X is this method body, right? So starting from here, ending to here. So this is the scope of X. And what is the scope of field 1?
It's global. We can use it in any method. We can call it from any method.
Yes, exactly. So the scope starts from here and it ends, let's see, up to here, right? So this is the scope of field, I mean, these variables, right? And
Yes.
the scope of a local variable is only that block. You can tell it block, or you can also tell it scope, right? So what I was trying to tell is like this has a default value. What I was explaining actually something else. So here, without initializing, I was trying to print it, and it's giving me error, right? I did not, since I have not given any value to X, or since I have not initialized X, I'm giving error. I have given error here, and it says I have not initialized it. I have not given any value. I have not, no value were assigned to this variable. That's why it is complaining, right? You understood up to this point, right? Anyone? Anyone did not understand that part? Yes, no, maybe?
We good.
Okay. So that means, so we are getting error here because we never initialized X. So if that is the case, did I ever initialize field 1? Yes or no?
No.
No. So why line number 19 is not complaining? Why I am not given any error in line number 19? I just have explained in line number 14 and 15 that since I have not initialized X, I am getting error in line 15. So same thing, right? I never initialized field 1 in line 5. Why I am not getting error on line number 19? Who can answer it? Anyone? Or who can assume what is going on here? Yes, no, maybe.
Isn't it just like a placeholder? Like for example, now you're just gonna print it. Like for example, you can assign a different name within the method.
Different name within a method. What does that mean?
No, you know how when we used to do like public int x, and then we do the method, and then you can assign the number within the method, like a value within the method for field, right?
Yeah, within the method. Okay. So here, yeah. So X equal 1. If I write X equal 1, then I'm not, the error went away, right? But
Yes.
if I am taking, if I am taking off the assigned value, I'm getting error. Same case should happen also here, right? So here, let's say I have int y equal 5, let's say, right? And I am trying to print y in my method, y, let's say, right? So if I take off, since I took off 1 from here, I'm getting error here, right? So if I take off 5 from here, shouldn't I get error in this y? Yes or no? Yes, right? If I take 5 out from here, I should give an error in y, right? Because I never gave any value to y. Who did not understand? See, if you do not if you do not talk, that means you understood everything or you understood
No,
nothing.
I understand. I understand the local variable. You have to initialize it. Now, why is the field like the field? You don't have to initialize field. You
Okay,
identify.
yes.
You identify as an integer. You know, it's an integer. Field is an integer, right?
Yeah, this field is integer right now, yes.
Yeah. So we know the type of it, but it does not have to be initialized because it's global. Is that the reason why?
Yes, that is the reason.
Because
That is the reason.
we can call it from any method and we can initialize it, give it a value within the method, right?
No. I mean, not for that reason. The specific reason is global variable or field will have a default value.
So what is that default? Like,
So
let's say you don't assign
exactly.
anything.
Yeah. So that is the answer. That is the answer. Now you, I mean, answered. So the answer is asking a question: what is the default value of y? Right. So now let's talk about the default value. So of a field. Okay. So let's write it down here. Default value.
Actually, your screen, I'm behind. Like you talk, but I see the way you write like a minute or two later, but it's fine.
A minute?
Yeah.
60 seconds?
No,
Oh
but
my God.
whatever. You know, by the time you talk, and then I see the writing like afterward. So my screen is.
You're not using your blackboard now, right? Using.
What's that?
So what you are seeing now?
Nothing. Frozen. I can hear you.
Oh, no. Okay. So what? I mean, what? Okay. So what I'm writing now?
Nothing.
I mean, what did I write?
It's the same. I see a frozen screen
Using the
too.
clips.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like
It's lagging
I
a
mean, what did I
little.
write here?
It's like now you're showing your desktop.
What stuff?
Desktop.
Your desktop folder.
Yes, that's.
That's
Now you're in the class node. Blackboard.
Oh my God. So that means that my screen is behind a lot. I mean, why you guys didn't mention? I mean, earlier. I don't know.
Always toward the end. Toward the end, when you started talking about field and stuff, that's when it happened to me. Before it was fine.
Oh,
I'm not sure about.
Okay. Before it was fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe. I mean, it was actually the GoToMeeting was disturbing from the very beginning. It was not behaving as usual. All right. So okay, we have 10-15 minutes more. So let's not try to fix those issues. Instead of that, I will explain something else. But can you see my note right now?
Yes.
Yes.
And what did I write? The last word.
Computer.
Exactly. Yes. All right. So I was explaining the default value of field. I was trying to explain. So default value, right? So first of all, value is I mean the variable has the value, right? So what type of variable we have first of all, right? So we know that we were trying to give example with int. What else we have? Anything else?
Double.
And then quickly.
Byte.
Then
Char.
short.
Someone
char,
else
you said, okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, someone else.
Float.
Now it has to be 1, 2, 3, right? Okay. Float. And then
Boolean.
Boolean. Okay. And then 1,
Long.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is that?
Long, right?
Long, you said? Yes. Okay, one more missing.
Short.
Quickly. Short. Right? And these these are the primitive type, right? And what is the other kind of type? Anyone?
Reference.
Reference.
We haven't talked
right.
about reference yet, right?
No,
Have
we
we?
have not talked about reference yet.
Yeah.
Right? So let's write object for now. So this is the reference type. Okay. So now I'm talking about the default value. So what will be the default value of byte? 0. What will be the default value? What is the default value of short? Anyone? Just guess. Just guess. It doesn't have to be
8.
right. What's that?
8.
You said A?
8.
Your voice is kind of breaking.
It's the number 8.
Oh, 8. Oh, no. The default value. Default value means if you
1.
0.
0. Excellent. Now it makes sense, right? So if you do not assign any value to the variable, and then the default value will be 0. Okay. How about int? Anyone?
0 too.
0. How about long?
0. All of them are 0.
0. Excellent. How about float? Anyone? Float?
0.0.
0.0. Anyone? Double?
0.00.
0.0. Anyone? Boolean?
It's 0 too. It is 0. Yes or no? It's 0. 0 and 1, right?
No.
True.
Boolean can be either true or false, right? No.
True.
The default will be false. Default will be false.
Oh,
So
false?
if you declare it, so if you declare, let's say if you declare a Boolean type here, let's say Boolean A. Now, if you try to print A, right here, so it should print false. Right? Oh, we never call this method here, so it's not printing. It has to come from here, and I have some error. Okay, Boolean, because it is not public and static. Okay.
You see, now we're behind. I just switched from the blackboard to the
Oh my God.
Eclipse. Yeah. And then
Okay.
right now
So
I don't
that
see
means
anything.
Yeah, same for me.
so it's actually good for me. I can after I close the session, I go my home. I mean, I start eating, and you have to watch 10 minutes more, right?
Yeah. You make iftar and we're
Okay.
still hungry.
Oh my God. Right. So I just have given an example of if I declare a Boolean type and if I print it, it will give me the false result if I do not initialize that value, the variable. Anyway, so what is the default what should be the default value for char? The default value of char is like empty. Let me actually search it here on Java. Default value of char.
We don't see see your screen, brother. Now we can see the Eclipse.
Okay, I mean because it's behind, that's why, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's fine. We only have a few minutes.
Okay.
Just continue. We'll just wait on.
Should I try to fix it and explain something else? I'm not sure. Actually, give me 1 second.
You don't have to, just continue. It's almost o'clock.
Okay. next class. I mean, whenever you just see it, just let me know so that I fix it right away. All right. So I am giving the example, I mean, the note for default values of the field. Can you see that screen now or not? Not yet.
For char and object, did
Yeah,
you?
you can see it, right? You can
No,
see it, right? No?
the char and
So what
object,
do you can
nothing.
see?
I see the
Oh,
byte,
I
the
mean,
short, the int, the long, the float, the double, boolean. That's it. I'm not sure about everyone else.
Yeah, same for me. I can't see anything on the chart and the object.
okay. Brother, hello. I'm giving you the permission for make presenter, and we'll take back again. Let's see if that way it's fixed or not. Did you accept it?
I don't see it. I have to wait.
Oh, oh, now you have to wait 10 minutes to get that. Okay, got it. So now take it back. Okay, it didn't go actually, so there's nothing to take back. Anyway,
you know,
I
you
think
can
we are
mention it. Just mention it, and we'll hear
okay.
you. And then the notes
Okay,
you'll post
okay.
them.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So default value for field, right? So byte, short, int, long, and float. These all will be always 0, right? And what else? And the float and double, that will be 0.0, right? And then we are missing what? Boolean. Boolean will always be false. And then char will be initial Unicode character, which is U000, but don't try to remember that. But you have to remember what is the initial value of a reference type, which is object. So the initial value of a reference type is null, N-U-L-L, right? So you will see, let me actually copy it and paste it on our group chat so that you can quickly look at it at least. Yeah, I just have given. So if you check on your mobile, so the initial value of the primitive type will be null, right? And how about the string? The string, the initial value of the string is also, let's see, also null, right? So just remember this because this is very important in Java. Um, so I had planned to show you something else, but since I do not, cannot see a screen, I will not go over. So we can stop the session
I think
here
now it's
actually.
working, brother. I think now it's working. Can you write something? I think you must have done something. Can you write something, and we'll see if you just write whatever.
Okay, what did I write?
iPhone.
Exactly. Okay. So now
Yeah.
it is working. So do you guys have like 12 minutes more, or
Yeah. No.
when is the Easter?
For 8:20 something, 23, 24.
20.
I'm not
Okay.
sure.
So all right. So let's continue 10 minutes more because I just want to show you something here. Okay. So now we have complete understanding of the default value, right? So since we did not declare, we did not define any variable in, I mean, value inside of this y. So if I will print y, what will be printed? You can tell.
0.
0 exactly. If I print a, what will be printed?
False.
False. How about field 1?
0.
0. How about this line number 16? If I print x,
Yeah, 0, 0. U0, 0. The chart.
no. I will
Oh,
not
no,
be able
0,
to
0.
print x.
0. Integer 0. This.
No, it's still
No,
wrong.
this is not a default.
You have to initialize it.
You have to initialize it.
I have to initialize, otherwise I won't be able to print. See, you can try it here. If I write x, it's saying error. I'm not allowed to print x before I initialize it, right? So seems like you have little you did not understand. You guys have still misunderstanding about the variable, right? So in Java, so let me some note here in Java and talk about variables. So in Java, we have how many types of variables? So we have 4 types of variables in Java. Just note it down quickly. Then the understanding will be clear. So we have 4 kinds of variable in Java. What is variable? Variable is this, right? Field 1 is a variable, Y is a variable, this Y, X is a variable, right? So how many kinds of variable we have in Java? We have total 4 kinds of variables. What are they? One is called instance variable. Instance variable, right? And the second one is called class variable. And what about the third one? Third one is called local variable, right? And the fourth one is called parameter. So what is instance variable and what is class variable, that we have to understand first. Then, okay, let's actually start with local variable and parameter. So what is local variable? Whenever a variable is declared inside of a method body, is called a local variable. Actually, you know what? Let me write it down on the note. So local variable is variable that are declared within a method. It's called local variable. What is parameter? Parameter is variable that are declared within a parameter of an object. Okay, so and how about the class variable? So class variable and instance variable, I'm coming to that part. But can some of you give me one example of a local variable from this code?
Integer X.
Yeah.
Excellent. So this is a local variable. All right. So can someone give me an example of parameter from this code?
The high A, I mean the string arg, right?
Okay, high can be yes, because this is a parameter of a method. Okay. How about arg?
Arg, yeah, arg and string.
Okay. And how about like string name? This is a variable, right? And this is what kind of variable? If I ask you what are you gonna tell?
Parameter.
Parameter, right? So that is a parameter variable. So you have complete understanding of parameter variable and local variable. Parameter is also called as argument. So let me write it down here so that you have some notes. And now talk about the instance variable and class variable. So let me give you the note. So this is variable that store state of an object. I'm coming to that next class, but I just want you to understand in one look what kind of variable is this? Is this from these 4 types of variable? By one look, you have to tell it, right? And the class variable is variable. Those are common to all objects. So don't think about this right now. Just try to understand what I'm saying. This instance variable can also be called as non-static field, and this class variable can be referred as static field, right? So we have understanding of local variable and parameter. Now try to understand instance variable and class variable. So instance variable and class variable, both of them are field, field, field. And we know what is field, right? Field is whenever you declare a variable outside of a method but inside of a class, that is called a field, right? So this is a field. These are all fields. And Now the question is, which one is instance variable and which one is class variable? So whenever you see the word static is there, that means this is a class variable. Right here, class variable. And whenever you see a static is not mentioned in the variable declaration, that is a non-static field or an instance variable. So now I am starting from beginning again. Can someone tell me a local variable from this code?
INTX.
Line number 16. Excellent. So can someone tell me an example of a parameter from this code?
String name in line 20.
Excellent. Right. So we are done with parameter and local variable. So can someone give me an example of number one, instance variable?
Line 8, 9, 10, 11.
Excellent. Can someone else give me an example of what else we are missing? Class variable.
Line
Anyone?
7.
Line 7 or line 5. Excellent. Okay. So now we have complete understanding of the variable, right? So these all are
Yes.
the variables in Java. There is no other kinds of variable in Java. So
Have
there
we
are four
talked
types
about
of
static?
variables.
Have we talked about static? Yeah or no?
Yes, static, right?
Have we
So
mentioned
whenever
it?
you, yeah. So yes, I just have mentioned, right? Whenever you see the keyword static is mentioned, that time you will understand that that is a
Plus.
instance. I mean non-instance. I mean non-static field. I mean whenever you see the static is there, that is called a class variable. And if you do not see a static, that is a non-static field or instance variable. So what is a class variable? If you see a static, that is a class variable. If you do not see a static, that is an instance variable, right? And I'm talking
Yeah.
about only
Yeah.
the
Can you
field. I'm
go
not
back to
talking
the
about,
definition? Can you go back to the definition that in parentheses that you wrote? So static would be the non-static are variables that are stored states of an object, right?
yeah. I mean this part. I mean what is an object? I have not described yet, right? So do not look at this part now. Just try to understand from here. So what is static and what is non-static? I mean what is instance variable? Our goal is to understand what is instance variable and what is
Yes.
class
Class
variable.
variable. Yes.
This is our goal, right?
Yes.
So instance is if you do not see the keyword static, that means it's a instance variable. And what is class variable? If you see the keyword static, then it will be a class variable, right? So now if you see a word static, is this a instance variable or class variable?
Class
Okay,
variable.
so let me copy this and paste it here. So what line number 142? Is it instance variable or class variable?
This class.
Class.
Excellent, because the static is there. How about line number 143?
Local.
Instance, right?
Local.
No, local has
So
to be within the method.
no, this is not local, right?
Yeah.
Local has to be inside of a method.
So,
Local variables that are declared within a method. So in this field, because you got confused because you did not see public here, right? But if you see my note here, field declaration, so the first is modifier, right? So modifier can be public, can be private, can be protected. It can also be a default, right? Default means if you do not mention any of these three, that means that is default, right? So I did not mention any of those three. That's why this is default, but this is still not a local variable. This is a field, right? So, okay, anyone, what will be number 143? Is it instance variable or class variable?
Instance.
Excellent. Line number 144?
Class.
Class. Line number 145 to 148?
Instance.
Instance. Excellent. So, okay, now we have complete understanding of all four kinds of variable in Java. We know the class members, which are field, method, and field, method, and inner class. We have learned that fields will have their own initial value. That means even though you do not initialize them, you will able to use them, right? In that time, the default value will be used. And we have understood that field, method, and inner class can be shuffled. We have understood that a method can have the input, output, and combination of those, right? We have learned so many things. Yes, I believe someone just asked the question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, when do we use the instant variable and when do we use the class variable?
Okay, that question should come on the object class. So if you, so instance, just give you answer in one line. Instance variable belongs to an object. Whenever you create an object, in that time you will use the instance variable. But if you do not create any object, that time you will use the static variable, or what's called it, class variable.
Yes.
Okay?
So like for the scanner, you remember? I think we've done the scanner there, right? The scanner will use the static, right? You remember the scanner when we import the scanner? So we have to use a static in that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, whenever we use scanner, yeah. If you want to create a static, I mean, like this method, right? I mean, let's say I want to use this method without creating any object. In that time, I will create that as a static. But this will a little difficult to understand right now, since I did not explain the object yet. But so let's wait for it. When the time will come, I will explain more. So, is there any questions from all these topics that I have explained?
No.
Any question from anyone? If not, then we are good here, and we will have our group session again on next week, and definitely we'll have class tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So yeah, we can wrap up the session here.
I won't be able to
What's that?
attend. I won't be able to attend tomorrow on Sunday, so I may have to listen to the video.
Okay. You should not miss the class, right?
What's that?
You should not miss the class, right? So
yeah, but sometime, you know.
Okay. So try your best, and if you miss, please try. Do not miss the video, the recording, and that's pretty much it. Is there any other question? If not, we can wrap up our session here, and I'll see you guys again on next week then, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome. Bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.